everyone to the first Tell All Tuesday of 2018, and I'm so excited to have Jennifer Redmond with me today, and we're talking about one of my favorite things, food. So, hi Jennifer.
Hi Kristen, I'm so happy to be here. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And our title today is What's in Your Fertile Refrigerator? And it's time for a reset of your pantry and your refrigerator. I love this because, you know, when you and I were talking about what we wanted to discuss, you know, we just came through a really heavy holiday season. So
True.
This is so perfect to get us all back in balance. But before we start, I want to before we get into the meat and potatoes, I just want to tell everybody about you. So Jennifer Redmond is a certified integrative. Oh my God, I'm having a wrong, my mouth's not working. Can you say that?
Integrative.
Thank you. Integrative nutrition health coach. She helps women who are trying to get pregnant prep their body and minds for conception using a holistic approach. Her clients create new habits that lead to creation of health and balance, and benefit from the tools, information, and support a one-on-one coaching provides. Jennifer has worked in the infertility field for more than 15 years as a health coach, patient educator, writer, and editor. That's so awesome. You've been so dedicated to helping women and couples create their family, and I just so appreciate it. And now with this new offering, you know, I'm just excited to, you know, connect you with people who can benefit from this. We all can, regardless of, you know, where you are on your family creation journey. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Kristen. I'm super excited to be talking to you. And like you said, so many people can benefit from really simple changes in your diet that are really going to create health and wellness easily.
I love the place we're going to start because it was like that aha moment for myself. And I think, you know, you put in our notes when we were creating this is to talk about vitamins, daily vitamins, and the importance of that. And after I read that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get my vitamins.
Yeah. And one of the things that I just wanted to say about that is if you're trying to conceive, a daily prenatal vitamin is really important at least 3 months before you conceive. And I'm not going to recommend a certain brand, but I do love vitamins that come from whole foods. They're easier to digest, and just a good quality whole foods prenatal vitamin is super important when you're trying to conceive.
Well, I remember way back when we also had to take another folic acid. But I think, you know, that was, you know, how many years ago, 20 something years ago when I was going through it. Is that necessary now? Do you recommend that?
Yeah. So prenatal vitamins definitely have folic acid in them. That's one of the main components of a prenatal vitamin. So super important. The other thing is vitamin D. That studies are starting to show that vitamin D can be really good for egg development. So a lot of practitioners will recommend upping your vitamin D intake, which most of us are deficient in anyway.
Correct. Right.
Yeah.
So do we want to jump over to the pantry?
Yeah, sure. So, so I think the first thing with the pantry is what I'm going to do is talk about some things you should take out of your pantry and what you can replace them with. So I think the first thing is sugar and artificial sweeteners. I think that the thing with sugar, forget about artificial sweeteners, bad for you, get rid of them altogether. But the problem with sugar is too much sugar is going to give you blood sugar imbalances, and it's going to interfere with your mood and energy, and it's going to prevent some vitamins and minerals from being absorbed. So we want to try and get rid of that refined white sugar and products that contain a lot of sugar. I think you'll be surprised if you look at labels how many of your foods contain sugar as one of the primary ingredients. So things you can replace sugar with, again, that refined white sugar, are coconut sugar. So they're natural sweeteners like coconut sugar, date sugar, which is actually just made from ground dates, simple whole food, maple syrup, and raw honey, all really good substitutes.
I know, I love the raw honey I don't want to plug anybody, but Trader Joe's has the raw honey butter too. So
Yeah.
that is yummy. I remember when when I was starting out, I had this like victimization kind of mindset, like, yeah, everybody else just gets pregnant and now I can't have a cookie. But we're not saying that. We're just saying bring that awareness to the sugar that's hidden in your pantry. And I'll use an example. I didn't realize I was buying a natural oatmeal. And one day I just looked at it and I was like, holy guacamole, that there was so much sugar that I just assumed when it said natural oatmeal, but
Right.
it was hidden in there.
Right. Yeah, it definitely is. And my husband and I did a detox a while ago, and it was really an elimination diet. And one of the things that we eliminated was sugar. And he was super surprised to see even things like mustard contain sugar. Hot sauces contain sugar. So if you look at labels, I'm not saying you have to get rid of everything altogether, but to just, like you said, raise your awareness and just really think about eliminating these things from your diet.
And even in bread.
Yeah. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
The bread I was like, holy Lord, and of course, we eat whole wheat, all organic bread, but if you didn't look, you wouldn't know. So I love that we're talking about this.
Yeah, me too. And I think the other thing when it comes to your pantry and sugar is definitely sodas and other flavored drinks like energy drinks. I mentioned soda, juices all contain large amounts of sugar. And I would say if you're trying to get pregnant, definitely get those out of your diet and replace them with herbal teas, which are great for you because we also want to remove the caffeine. That's another no. Herbal teas are great, and just plain old water, which you can flavor with your own fruits, cucumber, as I say, fruits and vegetables. You're not flavoring much with vegetables, but cucumber definitely. And then fruits, consider it like a spa water.
Right.
So another good thing to do, get those sugary, caffeinated, carbonated beverages out of your pantry, out of your fridge, and sub them with herbal teas and flavored waters that you make yourself.
Well, you know what? I was interested when I was reading over your notes about how you said room temperature water.
Better for digestion. Room temperature drinks are better for digestion. Every morning when I get up, I have a glass of room temperature water with lemon. Water with lemon is super good for digestion this time of year. Here in Boston, we just had our big blizzard yesterday. I'm actually drinking warm water. I'm heating it up in the kettle. But to start your day with a glass of water really helps promote hydration and kind of get you going on drinking water all throughout the day and really helping you stay hydrated.
You know what I love about that is just a little subtle tips, right? A little And way back when, and of course now we talk about the sub-fertility, and you never know like if you tweak this and tweak that, the profound carryover effect that has on your whole system.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think these changes, we're obviously talking about them for women who are trying to conceive, but I think, good tips just in general. So beyond that. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing we want to get out of our pantry are those simple and refined carbs. So processed foods, white bread, white flour, white pasta. We want to replace those with whole grains, sprouted grains. One of the problems with wheat in particular is that I think it's the eighth or ninth most allergic food in our food system. So we really want to try and take wheat out of our diet. Not necessarily gluten. I know a lot of people are going the gluten-free route right now, but I think the more important thing is, unless you know that you have a gluten sensitivity, to get rid of those white carbs and to get rid of the wheat. And you can replace that with whole grains. Some are gluten-free, some have gluten, but whole grains are things like amaranth, barley, flaxseed, millet, quinoa, super popular right now. That's also gluten-free. Brown rice is gluten-free. Another one is rye and spelt. Those last two do have gluten. But I would say just to really start thinking about whole grains and getting those carbs, those white carbs out of your pantry.
Okay, I love that.
Okay, good. The other thing I would say is to get rid of canola oil. I know it's super popular in a lot of recipes, a lot of baking. Most of the canola oil we buy is genetically modified. I don't think people realize that. And the other thing about canola oil is the way it's processed. It can be unhealthy. So there are a lot of really healthy, we talk about healthy fats a lot, healthier oils. So olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil. I know a lot of us are using coconut oil now for a lot of different things. Avocado oil is another high heat oil you can cook with. And then even butter and ghee, which is the butter with the milk fats removed. All good oils. So ditch the canola oil, bring those other healthier oils into your pantry.
I've never cooked with olive oil. I mean, well, olive oil. My family makes fun of me because they say you buy it as a vat because that's what I cook with. But I've never tasted or cooked with avocado oil.
You know what? I learned about it probably within the last year. I learned about it, and yeah, it's good again for that high heat cooking. It doesn't really have much of a flavor. Yeah, it's a great one. You should
okay, I'm going to try that. Thanks for that. I didn't.
Yeah, and I've seen it. Not to plug again, but I have seen it at Trader Joe's. So
yeah.
And then the other pantry, a little bit of a tongue twister, pantry friendly plant proteins you want. So to stock in your pantry, beans, nuts, and seeds, all really good proteins, all have a good shelf life. Actually, nuts you can throw in your freezer to extend their shelf life. If you have time and the wherewithal to buy dried beans, better than canned, just because they're not stored, whatever. But canned are just about as good. It's just the dried beans take time. You have to soak and then you have to cook them. Just buy your beans. Make sure they're organic, and make sure the label, if you're buying them canned, is a BPA-free label. Most of them are BPA-free on the label for the lining of the can. Most of them are, but I would definitely keep that in mind.
I have to write that down.
I'll send you my notes.
Yeah. No, we're gonna use that online when we promote, because I'm thinking in my head I buy all organic beans, but I never look to see if they're BPA.
And you know what? So cans used to have that lining that had BPA in it. For people who don't know, BPA is that plastic lining. Water bottles have, it's bad for the environment, bad for us. So you'll see most labels say it, but I always check for it. I don't assume. So, and actually, you can buy, I saw canned beans recently, I'm not sure where, but they were actually in glass jars instead of cans, which I love.
That's awesome.
And that's another tip. When you're storing things in your pantry or in your fridge, try and avoid plastic, try and store in glass. I save all my glass jars, and that's what I put everything in. So.
But there's a new yogurt out. I know that yogurt can be high in sugar, but the wee yogurt, have you seen that?
No.
Oh my gosh. And they come in little glass jars. And that's why I was drawn to it. I'm like, oh, yogurt in glass jars. Yeah. so okay.
I'm drawn to that too.
We did great. Now we're on to our fridge.
Okay. So fridge. So one of the things that's recommended to women who are trying to get pregnant is to avoid dairy from cows. A lot of people have sensitivities to it. We hear about lactose intolerance, but it also can be difficult to digest. So what we recommend is to sub cow with goat or sheep. So particularly, you can get yogurt that way, you can get your milk that way, you can get your cheeses that way, and it's just a lot easier on your system to digest. There are plant-based milk and cheese sources, so you can now get almond milk, you can get hemp milk, you can get coconut milk, you can get all different kinds of milks and cheeses, cashew cheese. So those are all really great substitutes. If you do feel like you're going to keep the cow's milk in your diet, make it full fat, better for fertility, and make sure it's organic. Full fat has been shown to improve fertility and ovulation. So if you are going to stick with the cow's milk, do that. Get rid of the low fats in your diet. Doesn't do you any good. And actually, usually the fat is replaced with sugar.
Okay, that's good to know.
The other thing you want in your fridge is lots of fresh seasonal vegetables, preferably organic, in a wide range of colors. So those wide range of colors are going to give you a wide range of nutrients, vitamins, minerals. again, here in Boston, we just had this crazy blizzard. We're not getting a lot of fresh vegetables. Organic frozen is good. It's a great substitute. So if you're having a hard time or if you're stuck inside and you need to stock up before the blizzard, organic frozen is a good substitute.
Okay, great.
Meat. So if you are a meat eater, pasture raised, organic, and 100% grass fed. So a lot of times we'll see that our meat says grass fed, but unless it says 100% grass fed, we don't know if it's grass fed 5% of the time or 95% of the time. Grass fed is because it's pasture raised, grass fed, raised more humanely. It's healthier for the animal, therefore it's healthier for us. And it's cleaner. It's not just factory farmed, fed on corn and grain.
Right.
So, yeah, definitely.
Corn and grain is usually GMO, so that
right.
Exactly. If it doesn't say 100%, they might be eating
right.
the GMO products. So here you are thinking you're doing, the right thing for your body, but it's
right. I know, and it can be confusing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's the chain of how it got produced, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. The other thing you want to stock in your fridge for protein, eggs. Again, pasture raised and organic. Goes back to the way they're fed, the way they're raised. And actually, these eggs will have less cholesterol and more vitamins and omega-3s. So super good to know.
That's great.
The other thing, just sort of going back, I should have mentioned this before when we were talking about veggies. Dark leafy greens are your friends. Stock your fridge or crisper drawer with dark leafy greens. Calcium, fiber, folic acid that we mentioned before in dark leafy greens. Also antioxidants, which help your cells and help your immunity. So they're just power packed. I love them. And you can cook them a million ways. Easy to cook. Everything from kale to arugula to Swiss chard. The list goes on. Spinach. I had spinach last night. Yay! Another thing I like to stock in my fridge, and I make it homemade, but there are some good quality products in the market, bone broth. So I like chicken bone broth, and so good for gut health, for your digestive health. It's an easily digestible protein. It supports immunity. Again, if you're gonna buy it or make it, you want it organic. I get my chicken bones that I make it with organic. I cook it in my crock pot for like 3 days, and it pulls all those nutrients. And the collagen is part of what's in it that makes it so good for you. What was I just gonna say about it? Sorry, I just totally lost my train of thought.
That's all right. Well, isn't that good for your hair and your skin too?
It is. Collagen is really good for your hair and skin. And what I was going to say was, you think of sort of chicken soup as like an old wives' tale that it's going to cure a cold, but actually it's all these properties of the bone broth. So it isn't really an old wives' tale. It really is that restorative and good for you. So definitely bone broth. And then another thing you want to stock in your fridge are organic raspberries and blueberries. Again, so high in antioxidants. So good for your cells, and particularly when we're talking about reproducing and you want your cells to be healthy. This time of year, good luck getting good quality, fresh, organic raspberries and blueberries. So again, buy them organic frozen, keep them in your freezer. I don't eat a lot of cold foods, particularly this time of year. So I just let them thaw out in the fridge overnight. And then if I want to put them in a smoothie or on my oatmeal, then they're already, warmed up, and I'm not having like an ice cold smoothie first thing in the morning when it's 12 degrees.
Am I correct that a cup of blueberries is the same as an orange? The vitamin C within that?
I don't know, but I'm going to take your word for that and double check.
I have to look it up. I'm pretty sure, because that's what, maybe I made it up for my kids, because I would say, eat this. It's got more vitamin C than an orange. So don't quote me on that one until we check it. It might be smooth.
But I mean, blueberries are just such a power food. They're so good for you. So even if it's not a cup, or if it is, they're super good for you. So yeah, I'm glad your kids are eating them.
We can't keep them. They'll just eat the whole container. I'm like, okay, whatever. So the frozen ones are fine. That's awesome.
Yep. And then again, try avoid storing things in plastics. So if you're making a smoothie and you've made extra, or you're making a soup, or you're even actually, when I'll saute up a big, batch of greens. I just put them in a glass jar in my fridge. I don't put them in a plastic container. So just when you're thinking about stocking your pantry and your fridge, just try and use as much glass as possible. And it helps you see what's in there too.
That's perfect. I love
Yeah.
it. So we talked about the pantry and the freezer and the refrigerator.
Fridge,
I have
yeah.
one question for you that
Sure.
we didn't really talk about beforehand. So I'm not a big drinker. I just don't drink a lot. But a lot of my clients, we go back to that mindset of like, oh my gosh, I have to give up my caffeine and I have to change my diet and I have to do all this stuff. And what about, we know alcohol and smoking, absolutely no. You should try
Caffeine when you're
nothing.
trying to get pregnant.
Yeah, no. But when you unfortunately might not get the news that you want, is there organic alcohol that so I
So that's such a good question, right? Because, and even when we're talking about this, I talk with my clients, and I've heard other health coaches say, kind of an 80-20 rule, right? Like, you don't want to make yourself crazy. If you want to have a dessert once, if you're gonna, don't make yourself crazy. It's going to add more stress, which is going to just have the negative
right,
effect of all these good things you're doing for yourself. There certainly are organic wines on the market. There's gluten-free beer on the market. Um, if clearly, if you want to avoid these things when you're trying to get pregnant, but if there's a time when a glass of wine is just going to make you feel a little better, you feel like just a little cheers, or just having a glass of wine with your partner or a friend, yeah, sure. I just think it's moderation. Do I recommend it when you're trying to get pregnant? No.
no, I don't
But
either.
you also, if you get some bad news, you've had a failed cycle, you want to have a glass of wine, don't beat yourself up about it. And
Yeah.
and about any of this, we're just all really trying to do the best we can. And I would say, as a health coach, sort of my role is to be your guide and your support, and to work with you on this journey. And nobody's the same. So every journey is individualized, absolutely. And nobody's perfect. So we're not striving for perfection here.
No, and I would make myself crazy, trying to control everything, right? And that's why I love how you so systematically made the list and talk about it, because you can pick and choose. You can use what your knowledge that you just shared as a menu and say, yeah, I can get rid of white bread and replace that. And I'm going to, pick and choose. And then, kind of, you get that momentum.
Right.
And when you start feeling good and you have those little subtle changes, then
Right.
you might be open for more.
And you know what? That's such a good point, Kristen, because I would say too, I'm not saying today radically change. You don't have to do everything at once. Some people do an elimination diet where they do. You pull everything out at once: sugar, caffeine, alcohol, dairy, wheat, gluten. And other people are like, you know what? I need to start with sugar today because that's my biggest issue. And then we're going to do that for a week. And then we're going to add, the wheat or the dairy or whatever. So don't overwhelm yourself with feeling like you have to make all these changes at once.
Right. And
Yeah.
then be tender and kind to yourself, and, no judgment here. There's no judgment.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what's the best place for people to find you? Of course, everything will be under the video that you can just click.
Yeah. And we talked about putting together some resources for people, so I'll definitely make those available. And then my website is Jen Redmond, JENN, 2 N's, Redmond, REDMOND.com. And that's my website with my blog. It talks about my coaching and my background, and has a lot of good information. And then from there, you can also find me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
I love it. And we'll be sharing and
absolutely.
Hit the link underneath, and then you'll find Jen.
Yeah, and I really appreciate what you're doing, Kristen, just pulling together people to provide all this great information. And you're such a great resource for people, and I really appreciate that.
Oh, well,
I love working with you.
I love you too. All right. Thanks so much. I
right.
can check my pantry.
Holler if you need me.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, Kristen.